Welcome back, everybody. I'm Kevin with Texas Veteran Power Outdoors, and this is an ECHO TimberWolf, and we're going to be talking about that starting right now. Okay guys, so if you're in the market for a chainsaw, you're probably wondering what chainsaw should I get, what brand, what size, and many other questions that you could possibly come up with. So what we're going to talk about is this particular chainsaw and kind of what it's used for. So we just pulled it out of the box. It's brand new. We haven't started it. We haven't put any fuel in it. There's nothing in here. No bar oil, no fuel, no nothing. So basically what you get is this power unit, or the power head as people call it, and it's 59.8 cc, so it's right at that 60 cc mark for an engine, which is pretty big. You get the cover that goes on your bar and chain. It does come with an 18-inch bar. Now this power head can push 18, 20, and 24-inch bars. So if you're going to buy a chainsaw, you at least want to buy an additional bar and chain of that same size, or go up one size. So if you go up one size in your bar, you need to get a chain that's going to fit that length too. And on this bar, it's stamped on here or etched, or maybe it's a decal, I can't quite tell. It tells you the length of the bar, and then the 50 thousandths, that's going to be the gap right in here. And then it's 3/8 chain, and it's 64 DL, that stands for drive lengths. So when you go and buy, you know, an 18-inch chain for a bar, it's not actually 18 inches. There's 64 lengths, so it's going to be a little longer than that. The way they measure is once you have the bar on, they measure from right here and then going out, and so that's how they measure that. Okay, so you have an Oregon chain, made in Canada, eh? Good stuff. This is 3/8 chain, so this is pretty heavy duty stuff. Oregon makes some of the best equipment out there. You can buy Oregon products at a lot of places. You can buy them at Home Depot, Lowe's, just online. A lot of different dealers carry Oregon. Very reputable company, been around a long time. And they might even make chainsaws, I'm not sure. Okay, so here you got a tip guard. This is real good to put on the tip of your bar here, and that helps prevent kickbacks, because kickback is really going to happen when you're trying to cut with this tip, which you really shouldn't. The only time this tip needs to come in contact with wood is when you're trying to make a bore cut, and if you're not a logger, then you really don't need to make a bore cut. So you go ahead and put that tip on there, and that'll keep you out of that kickback zone. But if you don't want it on there, don't have to. You do have a spur sprocket up here at the front, and you have your little grease hole there, one on each side. So you will want to use something like this, also from Oregon. You just squeeze that in there, and juices start flowing on that guy. Okay, so we covered the bar, we covered the chain. One more thing about this chain: when you get a chain, you need to have some type of sharpening system. Now there's all kinds out there. So on here it tells you, let's see here, 4.5, 3/8 size. Okay, whatever size, it doesn't say it on there, but whatever size sharpener you need with this, make sure you take the chain with you in case you don't know. Go to your dealer. Sometimes there's numbers on here, so if you go to the store and you're having to help yourself, which sometimes happens, you make sure you're getting the right information. So on something like this, I would recommend something like this 2-in-1 if I preferred. Got it on eBay for about $34. This is, if I can find the size on here, 7/32. So it will sharpen this chain with no problem. And it's a 2-in-1, so it'll sharpen the cutters as well as file down on your depth gauges. So you want to make sure you have that. You can use just a regular round file. Make sure you get the right size, and make sure you also have a depth gauge file system, because every so often you need to touch down on those depth gauges. It comes with this multi-tool here, so you can take your spark plug out and also loosen up the nuts on the side plate to get your chain and stuff out. And it comes with the flathead on the screwdriver part. Comes owner's manual, a couple different languages. Let's see here, it comes with more warranty information on here. And then here's a operator's manual on the chainsaw. A lot of really good information on here. Upkeep, how to cut, how not to cut, what to look for, sharpening your chain. I mean, this is really great. Now it does have a registration card in here. We just passed it. So when you do get this, here you go, that's it. Make sure you fill that out and mail that in. Or if you get it from your dealer, you can give it to them. They'll turn it in. Good dealers will turn that in. So be sure you have that done. Okay, so what I would like to do is actually dive into this machine a little bit more and really see what we're getting. So we're going to take some of these covers off, and we're going to get inside, and we're going to see how well built this really is. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk some tech data about this guy. Let's get you a little closer here. Alright, so some of the cool information about this neat little machine is, of course, you have the 59.8 cc engine. Okay, your oil capacity is 10.1 fluid ounces. Your dry weight is 13.2 ounces, although, I'm sorry, 13.2 pounds. But I weighed it just a second ago, and you're closer to that 13.8. But those few ounces really aren't going to make a difference. To me, dry weight doesn't mean anything. I want to know how heavy it is once the fuel, the oil, the bar, and the chain, everything's ready. I want to know how heavy that is. The sprocket cover's plastic. It has a digital ignition system. The bar type is Pro Light with Pro-Am material. The carburetor, because it doesn't have a push valve, and I really like this, is the butterfly valve diaphragm without purge pump. Now the old school saws like McCullough, which are my favorite, don't have any of those pumps or push bubbles, because you really don't need any of those. That's one more thing you got to fix down the road. Automatic and adjustable clutch driven oiling system. So here on the bottom, we're going to cover more into this. You can adjust your how much oil is going to come out by tightening or loosening that little screw. So we'll cover that later. The handle here is plastic, unfortunately. I was hoping there would be like a metal rod inside, and then this was just molded on it, but it is plastic. Now it's not in my opinion, it's not a good texture plastic. It's a smooth plastic. I would prefer something a little rougher, a little more texture to it, but that's just me. Here it doesn't feel like, in this section right here, it doesn't feel like it's that smooth. I can feel some cut off edges from the molding, the casting. So the vibration reduction system is standard. So you're going to have here, you can have a spring in there, which is good. You're going to have one right here, and there may be a third one I don't know of. But you at least have those two. And these engines put off a lot of torque, so they're going to be vibrating inside this handle, absorbing a lot of that vibration. So that's really good. That's a super plus. But it's just your standard. It's not advanced anti-vibration or anything like that. Okay, you have a 5-year regular consumer homeowner's warranty, which is a long time. So that's good. The available bar lengths for this guy is 18, 20, and 24-inch bar lengths. And then on commercial use, you have 1 year, which is still pretty good. And the fuel capacity is 21.8 ounces. So that's pretty cool. You get quite a bit of work in there before you have to refuel it. Now, just a little word of advice: when you're out cutting, you want to make sure that you're checking your bar and chain oil pretty frequently. So there's there's a lot of rules of thumb out there. There's a lot of hey, when I do this, do that. There's a lot of that out there. But in my opinion, when you're starting off with a full tank of fuel, and a full tank of oil, once you empty out that tank, I don't think, now every saw is a little different, and depending what you're cutting into as well, I don't think you're going to dry out or empty out that bar oil. So when you go to fill up, just open up that cap, take a look inside, and if you need to add some, add some. If you think you can wait another full tank, then you can do that. It's better safe than sorry. It doesn't take that long to fill up, and you want to protect that bar and that chain. So the other thing on, if you're doing a lot of cutting, at one time for that day or whatnot, generally, kind of the rule of thumb for a lot of guys, if you go through 2 full tanks of fuel, go ahead and sharpen your chain. You can sharpen your chain faster if you do it more frequently than if you do it every now and then. It'll take longer because those cutters are real blunt, and you might have to re-angle everything. And so, remember, the more often you do it, the faster that process is going to be. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take this guy apart and show you some of the stuff inside, the guts, and I think it's pretty well built. This is about $420 something, give or take, depending where you purchased this at. And for this type of chainsaw, I think it's worth the money. So okay, so to get to the air breather or the filter, you're going to go through this part right here. You do not need a tool. You can just twist this part right here off. Comes right off. I really like that. Your filter comes out, air filter. So it has the filter on the bottom as well as the top. Okay. And then inside here you can see your carburetor part, where the butterfly is, some people call it, and where your choke is. So remember, when you're going to choke, you pull out, just pretty much on every single chainsaw, or anytime there's a choke involved with an engine, most of the time, about 99.9% of the time, you're going to be pulling out. Once it runs, then you push it in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take off this top cover to our spark plug, and we're going to go ahead and take off our pull rope housing area. Now, in ECHO, what they do for most machines, if not all machines, they put just a couple of drops of fuel in the engine. That way they make sure it has a spark, and they get it to start. So we're going to go ahead and start by taking this right here off. We'll show you guys the spark plug, and you can tell that it has been started. You can see a little bit of that carbonation on there. Fuel, not carbonation, what's that word I'm looking for? Drawing a blank here. Thinking of sodas. Okay, almost got it here. There we go. Okay. So inside this chainsaw, we have a carburetor, and it's made by Walbro, which is a good carburetor company. They've been making carburetors for a long time. All right. So now let's go ahead and one of the other things I've noticed about the fuel lines in here. This is some pretty heavy-duty stuff. There's some fuel lines I've come across on some machines that aren't as good. Let's see if we can get you guys a little bit closer. So this is good quality line. All these components are good quality. I like the feel. Even though it's plastic, it feels like it's really tough and durable. So here we have our spark plug boot. I can get it off. Oh, can't quite get it off there. Whew, man. So that's insulated really well. Brand new spark plug. That is a NGK spark plug, I believe. And in fact, let's just go ahead and take this out. And I'll show you guys that it's been fired before. You can see, maybe kind of hard to tell, but you can see the discoloration here where it's had a spark. And that's how they test that. You can even smell the fuel. It's very, very, very faint. You can smell it inside the carburetor and down in here, and that's just to ensure spark, that everything is working. And they fire it up, and then that's it. They shut it right off, and it's good. It does have a decompression valve here, and we're going to talk more about that here in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and get these other pieces off here. Now, I don't know the star wrench number for these. Could be 25, could be 27. I don't really remember. Dropped a little guy in here. There we go. Okay. Let's see right here. I like the fact that you can get in there with this tool. There you go. Alright, so inside here is going to be, your piston's going to be inside of there. This is the housing. I don't know the name. This right here is the decompression button. So we want to take this off here. So what happens is you can start it without pushing this button. It just helps relieve some of the pressure. So here on this button, what you're going to do when you press it, that little tab comes up. See that little tab there? And you can push right back in, obviously not with your finger. Now when the piston comes up, because it moves up and down, it doesn't actually come in contact with this. It's the pressure from when the system ignites and that combustion of that fuel inside that cylinder. It's that pressure that pushes this guy out. So by pushing that in, there's a little bitty open airway in here, if I'm not mistaken, that right there allows to go through, and then that's sealed off there. So that decompression allows you to pull it, and then that bang pushes it right back out. On these bigger engines it does help, but I've started my 455 Rancher without pushing this, and then some of the other McCulloughs I have, you don't necessarily have to push that, but it definitely helps sometimes. Alright, especially during the colder times of the year. Okay, so let's go ahead and move right on over to this other side. Let's go ahead and take the inside here off. Now, a couple neat things about the inside of this particular chainsaw. Now, I don't know if it's something that ECHO has done with all of their chainsaws moving forward, or just some models, maybe the more expensive models. I'm not really sure. I haven't had a chance to speak to Jason Wilk up at ECHO about that. Oh, I forgot to tighten that guy down. That one was loose. But I have taken this apart earlier today. I wanted to take a look inside and see what we're dealing with before we actually get the camera rolling. Oh, I got one more right here. Now the brake chain here, chain brake, is plastic as well, as most of them are. The older ones are metal. On my McCulloughs, they're metal. I wish they were a little more rigorous, a little tougher than plastic, but I have no control over that. Uh-oh. Okay, slip that up. Take this off. Alright. So in here, we have this nice little housing. Okay. And that helps keep some debris out as you're sawing. Now, it also serves another purpose. As you can see, it's kind of a cover. And so what's going to happen here is when this is spinning, okay, this is your clutch wheel or your magneto, or I don't know what it's called really. When this is spinning, it's going to create that air inside, and that air actually goes right up in here. It goes up through here, in here, and then out into the air breather. So that air breather sits just like this. So think of it as like ram air on a muscle car. That's help pushing that air in here to get in here, instead of it going through the breather through these little holes here, which, you know, there's not a whole lot. But having that little bit of forced air really ensures that there's air going into the carburetor. I really like that. So that's pretty neat design by ECHO. I like how this housing here holds your distributor line here for your spark plug, and then also your on-off switch here to your ignition coil. So it holds it right in here, that little spot, and you can take that off. So you can see here it generates that, and then comes right in here, and then right on out. So this is really neat. So we're going to go ahead and put this guy back together. Okay, this right here just kind of snaps into place. I do like how they have this molded on here. Keeps everything kind of in its where it's supposed to be spot. Alright, let's go ahead and put this guy back on. Now the other thing, when you need to replace pull cords, you want to make sure you're getting pull cord that's designed for two-stroke engines or lawnmowers, because this nylon rope is not the same as what you buy at the hardware store when it says nylon rope. There's different kind of tensile strength. So make sure you get what you need, and then as far as the length, buy more than you think you need. Then that way you have more than enough, and you can cut off what you don't need. So that always makes it easier when you're having to repair that kind of stuff. Alright, this on there. Okay, put our little screw in there. Alright. Whenever you're replacing these spark plugs, you want to make sure you have the right one. Now this little boot, which I really like, it has this little lip, and you want to make sure that little lip is right on top of this edge, and this little piece here, this inner side, goes down inside. That really helps protect and keep stuff, debris or whatever, getting down inside there. So ECHO did a good job on that. All these plastic components feel really thick and nice. They are rounded off pretty good. This one here isn't rounded off. It just feels like it's a, just didn't get rounded. It's kind of a sharp edge, but it'll be fine. Okay, so on this part here, this is going to go on like this. All right. This guy here, we're going to line that up best we can. All right. Get these little screws here and get them lined up. Now with these plastic pieces, you just got to make sure you don't crank down too hard and crack stuff. Okay. see, when you're putting that piece back on right here, you want to make sure this little rubber boot gets over this piece right here. Okay, might have to loosen up this just a little bit. I'll show you here. That area right here. You just want to make sure it's rested up there where it needs to be. Okay, it's on there good. That way it will have that solid connection there. Hey, buddy. Okay, so here on this back side, you're going to have your on-off switch, your choke, your trigger safety, your trigger. Here's your fuel and oil mixture, your bar and chain oil here. Now what I've noticed about this saw is all of these components are plastic, all of them, except these two halves right here, where around where the crankcase is. This is plastic. Everything else is plastic. Alright, so whenever you don't need a tool to undo these. Now these do have an O-ring around them, so they're pressure fitted. So what that means, or that's what I call them anyways, so that means that once you get this guy in there and you turn it, it'll keep tightening. Eventually it'll stop once you reach the end of where that thread is, where this part right here is, this part right there, and this little stop right here. That's what that's for. So you don't need a tool for this. Now when you put this guy inside, you know, you may want to bend this just a little bit so it gets in there, and it'll be easier if you bend it right there where that opening is right here. Okay, put this on, and then same thing for the bar and chain oil. Now when you fill these up, you don't want to fill them all the way up to the top, just about maybe a quarter or a half inch just below that. That way you can put this guy in there and it won't want to ooze out on you. Tighten that up. Okay, the other cool thing about this saw is it does come, so it's only got one, so it's a falling spike, or dogs as some loggers call them. So these are good to have. Allows you to put the saw up against the wood like this while you're cutting and have control of what you're doing. And plus when you have it up against here or up against the wood, this chain is rotating this way, and so it's pulling that wood into the saw, and that's going to give you a little bit better cut. It's going to give you a faster cut, and all that pressure is being put right here. If you have it out like this and you're trying to cut, you may have a little bit of back and forth that it does because it's pulling, but you're going to be most efficient when you're up against the wood like this cutting. That's been my experience anyways.